So if you could jump in a time machine and travel 800,000 years into the future, what do you think humanity would look like? Well, H.G. Wells asked that exact question way back in 1895, and his answer? Wow. It was a vision of a perfect paradise, but one that was built on a foundation of absolute terror. It's the story of a beautiful world with a horrifying secret lurking just beneath the surface. Let's dig in.
All right, here's our plan. We're going to journey into that far future to meet the Eloi. We'll find out who they are, uncover the pretty horrifying secret of their existence, and then we'll zoom back to our time to see what Wells was really trying to warn us about. We'll also take a look at how they've been shown on film and wrap up by asking why this story still feels so disturbingly relevant today.
Okay, so let's start our journey. Just like the time traveler in the book, we're arriving in the year 82,701. The world looks like a beautiful, overgrown garden, and humanity's descendants are here to greet us.
This is the huge question at the heart of H.G. Wells' classic The Time Machine. You know, he wasn't really interested in just the cool mechanics of time travel. He was using it as a way to explore a much deeper idea. What would happen if the social and economic divides of his own era were left to run their course for thousands of centuries? And the answer he came up with was seriously strange.
So, you step out of the time machine, and who do you meet? The Eloi. And at first glance, it looks like they've inherited a perfect world. They live this simple, easy life on the surface of an Earth that has basically become a global park. But pretty quickly, the time traveler starts to feel like something is off. There's this strange emptiness just under all that perfection. And when you look closer, you see this really bizarre mix of traits. I mean, they're beautiful and graceful, sure, but they're also incredibly weak, standing only about 4 feet tall. They have the intelligence of a small child, and they spend all their time just playing and eating fruit. And get this, they are completely apathetic. There's this moment where one of them, a character named Weena, falls into a river, and the other Eloi, they just watch. They don't even try to help. But there is one thing they feel very strongly, a deep, instinctual, paralyzing fear of the dark.
And that fear of the dark, that's the key to everything. Because their sunny, perfect little world is only half the story. The other half lives underground, and it's the reason they're so terrified.
Yeah, this isn't some utopia humanity earned. This piece was bought and paid for, and the Eloi are footing the bill, whether they even realize it or not.
It doesn't take long for the time traveler to discover that humanity didn't just evolve into the Eloi. Oh no, it split in two. Down below, in these huge dark underground tunnel systems, live the Morlocks. They are the descendants of the working class, the people who, for thousands of years, tended the machines that kept the upper class comfortable on the surface.
And this just lays out the complete split perfectly. You've got the Eloi, descended from the idle rich, living up in the light. And then you have the Morlocks, descended from the industrial workers, stuck down in the dark. The Eloi are weak and passive, the Morlocks are strong and carnivorous. And that old relationship between the providers and the provided for, well, it has taken a really, really gruesome turn.
And here it is, the horrifying truth. The Eloi are not the masters of this world. They are livestock. The Morlocks, who once served the surface dwellers, have completely turned the tables. They now tend to the Eloi, clothe them, and raise them like cattle, only to come up in the dark of night and harvest them for food.
So, this vision of futuristic cannibalism isn't just some random sci-fi horror. Wells was using this absolutely grotesque future to make a powerful statement about his own time, the deeply, deeply divided society of Victorian England. See, Wells wasn't just dreaming up some random future. He was drawing a direct line from the class divisions he saw all around him in 1895 London, the wealthy living in the light, the workers toiling below ground in factories and mines, to this awful endgame.
The writer Evgeny Zamyatin put it perfectly. He said that Wells just took the two classes of his own city and stretched their traits out to the absolute grotesque extreme. The rich become beautiful but totally useless, and the workers become brutish but powerful.
And all of this was tapping into a very real anxiety of the era called degeneration theory. The Victorians were obsessed with progress, but they were also terrified that evolution wasn't a one-way street. They worried that if humanity got too comfortable, too civilized, it could actually start to slide backwards, regressing into a more savage, primitive form.
In Wells's story, humanity's search for a utopia was basically a slow-motion suicide. First, they worked so hard to achieve perfect comfort that they engineered away every single challenge. But then, with no problems left to solve, why would you need strength or intelligence? The very things that make us human begin to wither away. The drive for a perfect, safe world is the very thing that leads to its total decay.
Okay, so that's the book. But what happens when this powerful idea gets translated to the big screen? Because let me tell you, the Eloi we see in the movies have changed quite a bit over the years.
If you look across the adaptations, it's pretty fascinating. The original novel describes the Eloi as these tiny, 4-foot-tall, feeble creatures. Then you jump to the classic 1960 movie, and they're more like small, blonde-haired humans who are kind of in a trance, lured into the Morlock caves by these strange sirens. But by the 2002 remake, they've become much more capable. They're a tribal society of hunter-gatherers who've even managed to hold on to the English language. Each version really reinterprets that idea of devolution for its own time.
So why are we still talking about this? Why does a story from 1895 still have such a powerful grip on our imagination? Well, I think it's because the anxieties it taps into, they've never really gone away.
And modern readers totally get it. Just look at this comment from a Reddit user who points out that the time machine is really just the vehicle for the story. The real point is that it's a cautionary tale about the massive divide between social classes. And they're absolutely right.
And this comment just cuts right to the heart of the allegory. After centuries of being pushed underground and exploited, the descendants of the working class literally rise up from the darkness and start eating the rich. It is such a raw, visceral metaphor for class struggle, and it hasn't lost any of its punch.
And that leaves us with a final, pretty chilling question. If H.G. Wells were to write his novel today, in our world of vast inequalities and incredible technological comforts, who are the Eloi, living their lives in the sun? And who are the Morlocks, toiling away in the dark to make it all possible?